Morning, Zoomers. Can you hear me? You can hear me? You can hear me. Great. I can't hear you, but you look good. So we'll start our early morning. Got a cup of tea next to me, thank God. It's got caffeine in it. We're going to start in Tadasana. Okay, cool. Yes, it seems fine right now. Thank you. Tadasana. I've not turned the lights on because I think it's quite nice for it to slowly get lighter. You know, it's got that good vibe. We're going to face towards this side of the room, the shrine side of the room. And the hands in namaskara, in a prayer position, feet close or together. But obviously there are some circumstances under which you wouldn't want to put your feet together. If your thighs met before your feet, it would be a good example of that. And through movement, we can begin to gather, to bring ourselves into the moment, to draw ourselves into the moment, fibre by fibre. Well done. That would bother me too. Interlace your fingers, stretch your arms diagonally down, raise your arms up. Lightly tone the tummy movement that gathers body and mind, not because we intend necessarily, but because that's the way it is. Gathering the body is gathering the mind. Make sure the roots of the neck are soft. Moving left, moving right, finding the pelvic floor, gathering body and mind. Make sure that from the skull down to the collarbones, there's a feeling of space that's echoed in your breath. A feeling of space that's echoed in your breath. This is the Urdhva Baddha Angulyasana Tadasana. Silly name, really. But it's streaming together, the various fibers of the body, into ekagrata, concentration. Without concentration, yoga can't begin, and life is very scattering, isn't it? So this is why yoga is so wonderful. We need to concentrate so we can be fully present. We need to be fully present so we can feel what the present is. We need to feel what the present is because the present as it is negates clinging. We need to experience the lack of clinging so that we fall into our true nature instead of identifying with things that arise and pass all the time, that are co-created and cannot be individually the self. Early in the morning for that. Big circle. I haven't even really drunk any of the caffeine. Hands onto the hips. Step your feet apart into a generous stride. We're going to start with the right foot forwards, that is to say, towards the front of the mat, with the instep of the foot parallel to the front of the mat, and the left foot back. And we're just looking, just checking that we've got a good parallel alignment with the front foot and the front of the mat. And it's still the same ekagrata, it's still the same meditative focus. Eka, of course, means one in Sanskrit. And grata means grasping, so grasping one thing only. Stretch your arms and come into Trikonasana, and this rather fascinating diagonal alignment that I find I want to play with the weight on my front heel as I come down so that it becomes fully meditative. Don't hold the breath. Let it go. Breathe deep and relax the jaw. Play for the purpose of ekagrata, which, as we know, is the first of in the early Buddhist tradition they call the jhanas. Jhanas being the Pali version of the Sanskrit word dhyana. These concentrative states that purify the mind of karma and allow the mind, therefore, to see things just as they are. We could say it's the gamma brainwave frequency, but on all the time. Inhale, come on up. Release and repeat on the other side. So 1 foot back, 1 foot forwards. And check for the parallel alignment of your front foot. check that your back toes don't turn out, but they don't have to turn in this parallel configuration. Stretch your arms, lightly tone the tummy, breathe through your nose. Again, wake up to the moment. And so we call that listening response. Merging the two words because the experience is simultaneous, listening response. Listening is a form of response. Response is a form of listening. In other words, as you move the body, that's a form of listening. And as the listening takes place, it intuitively expresses as movement. That helps deeper investigation until, instead of just a peripheral knowledge of the moment, there's a total submersion in the moment, which we call absorption. That's what absorption means, total submersion in the moment. The individuated drop returns to the ocean, as it were. So that manifests as investigative movement and expressive breath. Investigative movement, expressive breath. Inhaling very, very calmly to come up, turning the feet to the front, and the same pose with the regular alignment, that is heel to arch, so turning the front foot on the ball of the foot first and finishing off the last bit of the turn on the heel, heel to arch, Trikonasana, regular alignment, meditative, moment by moment, so we can feel the weight changing on the foot, on the front foot. And the movement of weight, the changing of weight, is purposed to stream the mind into one flow, into one place. We're told that the ultimate obstacle in yoga is, in Sanskrit, chitta vikshepas. Chitta means the mind stuff, vikshepas meaning scattered. So the ultimate obstacle to yoga is a scattered mind. And everyone knows about that. So obviously then, therefore, to gather the mind realizes yoga's purpose. So you do that over the body. You come together over me, is what the pose is in the voice of John Lennon. Okay, inhale, come up, feet face forward, breathe through your nose, hands on the hips like a sort of veritable superhero. And back toes in, front foot leg out, and the ball of the foot, finish off the toe and the heel. Again, make sure your back toes do turn in. Make sure your front heel is lined up with your back instep and not with the back heel. We want to avoid heel to heel alignment because it makes the back tight. Stretch the arms when you're ready, lightly tone the tummy. Inhale, exhale. Every micro moment is we're intimate, we're breathing with every micro moment. The weight's changing all the time in subtle ways. The breath is expressive. I'm sure you'll notice quite easily that as the weight changes on your front foot, slightly towards the inside, slightly towards the outside, slightly towards the back of the heel, slightly towards the front of the heel, as it changes, so does the way the leg itself come online. Different parts will come online according to different parts of the heel touching the floor. Inhaling calmly, calmly, calmly. To come up, walk your feet towards each other with your hands on your hips. Kick out or push out in any way that has utility for you. And then back to your Tadasana. It's got to that point already when I'm taking the shirt off. Gosh, it's early in the proceedings for that, but there it is. It's happened. Namaskara. Breathing through your nose if you can. Feel particularly into your right foot. So spread out the toes, play with the weight, wake up, as it were, in a nice way. And then raise up your left heel And again, really feel into your right foot. For me, it's really interesting to wake up the foot arches. It's really interesting. It's breath centered. It takes time to wake up the foot arches. And then when you're ready, you begin to bring the leg up and reach down for it. And you're going to pull with both hands at first, but if you're content to do it with one hand, that's good as well. And pull that leg gently up without holding the breath, with a focus on the groin of the standing leg, extending and opening. And the jaw soft and easeful. Now, we're definitely going to hold with one hand only now because we're going to pull the leg up and out, both those things. And you might counterbalance with the other arm, up and out. And then return to center and bring the leg down. Take some really deep breaths because there's a really good chance that we were holding our breath a little bit there. Because, it's a challenge to bring the scattered mind, and often the mind has been scattered in the night as well. My mind was scattered in the night into various dreams. So we're going to lift up the other heel. We're going to let some movement happen, particularly with a focus on the standing leg, the foot arches, medial lateral transverse. And in this profound honesty, I'm convinced that, people generally come as they are. And, I think you guys are just naturally honest, So, you're going to really feel into it. It's a real honest awakeness here into the foot arches. And for me, that's a profound thing. It's almost an emotional thing, as I ask myself to wake up, as it were, from the dream, actual and metaphorical, which the dream is any projected objectivity. There you go. Found it. The dream is any projected objectivity. When you're ready, raise up your leg and reach for it. Draw it up calmly, calmly, calmly. Breathing through the nose. And focus on the standing leg. So the pulling up of the raised leg is assisting in stretching the groin and opening up, cutting in at the gluteal crease. That's where the bum and thigh meet. Strength is something that's built over time, fiber by fiber. Again, when you're ready, hold with one hand only, pull up and out and counterbalance with your other arm. Take your time, be filled with kindness and humor. And if you do lose balance, don't forget to style it out. Okay, back to center and release. Take our lessons from cats, always style it out when they lose balance. Shake off a little bit. Breathe through the nose. Jaw soft. Vrikshasana, the tree pose. These things really call us to witness, don't they, to presence. Let's raise up the left heel and feel into the 3 foot arches of the right foot. Big challenge. It's a big challenge for me because, you're the same, I think. We tend to run programs, like views and opinions are just rattling on, commentaries are rattling on, anxieties are rattling on. So being present, is a big challenge to all of that projected objectivity. When you're ready, go ahead, take hold, pull up, hands into the Atmanjali Mudra. And similarly, recruiting, for want of a better word, fiber by fiber, every single part of the standing leg as a meditation. Okay, release and place and breathe. Deeply, honestly, naturally. Whenever you're ready, up comes the other heel. Breathing, breathing, breathing. And when you're ready to do so, bring the leg up to wherever. The heel can be on the ankle, it can cup the knee, or it could be high up in the thigh. And the hands into the Atmanjali Mudra. Takes no prisoners. You can, the best thing that we can get out of this pose, apart from focus, is humor. That's really super important. Humor is a form of wisdom, like real humor. Not talking about cracking, the odd joke, but like perspective. It's like humor's always got love in it. It's got space in it. It's got perspective in it. Recruiting every single fiber of the standing leg, whether it be calf muscles, whether it be front thigh muscles, quadriceps, whether it be abductors or adductors. Okay. Release calmly when you're ready. And take a breath or two. Now, we're going to use a brick block. Other blocks can be used. These ones happen to be cork, but you can use it. And you can use regular blocks as well if the brick block isn't available. And we're going to just put that over on the right side of the mat. We're going to step the left foot to the left side of the mat. We're going to place our hands on our hips. We're going to breathe through our nose. We're facing the front of the room. We're going to turn the left toes in, right foot and leg out. The block goes on that side. Yeah. That's the naughty side of the room, obviously. But what I liked is that you both replaced your blocks in synchronicity, perfect timing. It's beautiful. Beautiful. A new Olympic sport, synchronized block moving. Raise your arms and lift the ribs, heel to arch, breathing through the nose, light tone in that tum-tum. Inhale, exhale, Trikonasana, meditatively feeling every micro moment, listening, response is one thing. Listening, response is one thing. So the listening response is the meditation that has the purpose of disappearing, that proves itself to be disappeared through the expressiveness of the breath, the spontaneity, the absorption of the yogi, the diminishment, complete diminishment of doubt. The arm comes down, the knee is bent. You walk the back foot in towards the front foot without turning your toes in, and there's that block. Should be the length of the block away from your foot, about level with the 4 outer toes. You've got 3 different height options plus a directional option here. Height option, directional option. Before you come up, you choose whichever one you want. Make sure, try not to turn your toes in of your standing leg. Either stretching your top arm along your top leg or raising it up. Both are valid. And breathe calmly through the nose. If you can, bottom shoulder blade pull down and recruiting every fiber as your endless ananta meditation. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Okay, as calmly as you can, move back through space. I've taken my block with me. Well, why not? You can if you want. Breathe through your nose. Inhaling to come up, very, very calm. And then, of course, block down on the side. You move over to the other side. Place your hands on your hips. You take some deep breaths whilst turning your back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot first, finish the last bit on the heel. So if you turn firstly on the heel and exclusively on the heel, you'll end up with the wrong alignment. You'll end up with heel to heel. If you turn exclusively on the ball of the foot, you'll end up with an okay alignment. You'll end up with heel to toes. But if you turn on the ball of the foot and finish off on the heel, you'll get the perfect alignment for what we want today. Stretch and lift. Release the roots of the neck. Soften the eyes. And know that all of this is all of this. Inhale, exhale. Coming down very, very calmly. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Just looking at the Zoom from here, it looks like one of you's unmuted, and I think it's David. So just maybe check that. Looks like maybe David, you're unmuted, which you can be if you want, but it may be that, you might fart or swear or something, and everyone will hear you. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. So meditative awareness. In Trikonasana, again, we're recruiting every single fiber, which is a meditation based on free breathing. Arm down, bend your front knee. Walk your back foot in towards your front foot. Transfer the weight to your block, which should be about the length of the block ahead, lined up with the 4 outer toes. You've got 3 different height options and a directional option. Try not to turn your toes of your standing leg in. Bottom ribs forwards, breathe through your nose if you can. Top arm, if it's on your top leg, is straight, not bent. In fact, you actively walk your fingers along to extend the bottom ribs. Or the top arm can raise up, that's another option. Breath is spontaneous. Mind is pliable. Good. Bend your knee as calmly as you can. If you want to come back with the brick, you can. And back to your Trikonasana. Again, make sure it's a good ending. If something's got a good ending, then you kind of presume the whole thing's been good. Like if you read a book and it's got a good beginning, you're like, right, I'm in. The middle's kind of okay. And then it's got a brilliant ending. You're like, that book was good. That was a good book. Inhale and come on up. Breathe through your nose. We're going to put the block down actually because we're going to come into Virabhadrasana number 3. Okay, so if we're well, actually we're good as we are. We're going to step over to the left side of the mat again. We're going to find where the hip joints are, which is lower than when you put your hands on your hips and you bend your knees in tight. It's lower than that. And then we raise the arms from the hip joints, which is a concentrative instruction. In other words, I can either think about the past or future or ideas about myself in the present, or I can concentrate on the reality of tuning in on lifting from my hip joints, lower than the hips, the hip joints. Now that's a task that's a challenge to my otherwise eternally creating stories, vikalpas. We're going to turn the back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning. So really square up the body in that direction towards where the sun's rising, actually, with your arms still up. Well, it's towards where the sun is rising for us here in the room. Might not be for you on Zoom or on you might be a future YouTuber, if I put this one up on YouTube. Lightly tone the tummy. If you haven't walked your front foot across the width of the mat, it's worth doing that a little bit so that you can square up more easily. And sometimes it's useful to lift the back heel and turn it out again and then land it. The tummy is toned so that the pelvic floor has a sort of supportive buoyancy to it. From the hip joints, we keep the arms raised on the inhale. On the exhale, we bend the front knee and keep the body upright. So this is Virabhadrasana number 1. But don't worry, I did promise Virabhadrasana number 3, and I will deliver that promise. So here we're stretching the psoas across the inner groin of the back leg, across the, from the inner groin of the back leg, across the pubis, and then back it goes underneath the abdominals into the sides of the lower spine. I think it's wonderful to concentrate on the meditative release of the psoas muscle. From here, we're going to lift the back heel. We're going to rotate on the ball of the back foot so the body really squares up. Then we're going to lean forwards until our ribs touch the thighs. Having reached that point of great joy, we'll continue our journey to raise the back leg up. And I would recommend not trying to smile during this because it usually looks more like a sort of fake grimacy smile, but you can if you want. So this is Virabhadrasana. Virabhadra means the good warrior. 3. Now bend your knee, drop your arms, move slowly back to where your foot was, back to the Virabhadrasana number 1, with light tone in the tummy, investigative movement, breath through the nose, which is expressive, playful. Find your way to tune in. And on the inhale, come up, turn back to the front, take a big wide circle, hands on the hips, breathe through your nose. 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Deep breaths, tune in on your pelvic floor, on the pelvic floor, which is a meditation beyond grasping. The thought of the pelvic floor, you can grasp that. The idea of the pelvic floor, you can even, some people learn the names of the muscles for their Vajrasati final exam, the iliococcygeus, pubococcygeus, puborectalis, and coccygeus. And that's fine. Knowing that the area is sort of complicated, knowing where it is. But what we want is something beyond that. We want the direct experience of the pelvic floor. And when we feel that direct experience, we're going to feel a little support. It's natural to feel support, a little nudge of energy into the central channel. We don't hold our breath because it's not me, myself, and I that's trying to create this. It's the me, myself, and I is surrendered into the reality of this. Raise your arms. Lightly tone the tum. Find the pelvic floor. Breathe through your nose. Back toes in, front foot and leg out. Whole body is now turning towards Sovereign House, which is over that way. And as we turn, we can walk, well, not Sovereign House if you're at home, presumably, unless you're also in this road somewhere further along. We're going to walk the front foot further across the width of the mat away from me. Front foot away from me, away from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We're going to lift the back heel and turn it out and then bring it down again. I have heard teachers say lift the back heel and then bring it back down again. It's pointless. Got to lift it, turn it out and bring it down. Lightly tone the tummy. Find that supportive feeling at the pelvic floor. Raise from the hip joints. Inhale. Exhale. Bend the front knee. Play with it. Raising the heels is one way, or one of the heels, or both of the heels. Is one way that you might find utility in tuning in, finding space to give an opportunity for muscles to come round, to come in, particularly from the inner groin of the back leg, the psoas. That's the muscle area that needs lots of space, lots of play, lots of opportunity to work its way both round to help us twist round, but also to release in an upwards direction, which is psychophysical. The attitude of the mind is a mirror of what's happening in the body, and what's happening in the body is a mirror of what's happening in the mind. Lift the back heel and turn it out. Bring your ribs down onto your thigh. Walk your back foot in your own time and raise up to Virabhadrasana number 3. We imagine there's a little weight on the little toe side of the back leg. We breathe through our nose. We bring tone to the front thigh, what we call intelligent tone. which means it's responsive to the changes of the moment. Bend your knee, drop your arms, move back with calmness and control to your Virabhadrasana number 1, which again needs this play, this beautiful dissolving play. We dissolve into the play. Inhaling to come up with the pelvic floor in your awareness. Big circle, our hands are on your hips. Deep breaths, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Or 6. Natural, spontaneous, deep. Now you might want to block in front of you because we are going to forward fold. We do want to keep open from the groins through the pelvis, through the tummy, through the chest. We're going to extend the little toe side of the feet again and again and again. So yesterday I was teaching, looking out at the ocean. It's nice, new class I started. Looking out at the ocean, down at Lunar Wave, down by the swimming pool there in the seafront. So that was nice. And it reminded me of when I first started yoga in 1990, maybe 89, something like that. Anyway, and I went down to the beach and put stones between my toes a lot. And so, but I haven't given up that project. That was a while ago, 1989, 1990. I'm trying to remember which one of the two. It's one of those two. And so it's the little toes, isn't it, that need most attention. But of course, the mind says we're dealing with bigger stuff than this. I've got bigger fish to fry than the extension of my little toes. I'm a person. I've got stuff to do. But actually, the concentration on the little toe is a really brilliant way of sort of bridling ourselves from the constant onwards instead of the moment, the now. So never give up on extending the little toes. That's the real yoga. Some people are like, I just want to do a handstand in really nice leggings on a dangerous precipice with a nice filter. But this little toes extension, it's not a good Instagram, but it's proper yoga. Inhale, lift up from the groins. Exhale, hinge from the hip joints. Fold over the top of the front thighs. Let the thighs rise up towards that folding point. Fingertips onto the blocks or floor. Jaw passive. Meditating, meaning bringing everything together. Remember, a scattered mind is the ultimate obstacle of yoga. All the obstacles together come to this scattered mind. Vyadi dhyana samshaya pramadalasya varati bhranti dashana labda bhumikatwana ashtivatvani. They all lead to chitta vikshepas, a scattered mind. So if we deal with the scattered mind bit, then it back projects through all the different obstacles, vyadi, illness, dhyana, apathy, samshaya, doubt, and so on. So breathe through your nose, keep those little toes, keep coming back to those little toes. It's consequential because if the little toes keep curling under, that's usually indicative of that side of the foot curling under. That usually leads to put pressure on the common peroneal nerve on the outer leg and a misalignment of the legs generally. And we lose our meditative opportunity. Breathe easy. If the lower back starts to dip downwards, that's great. Like concaving downwards, that's great. If it keeps concaving downwards, it might feel a bit stiff and might feel better if you kind of move with it. That's fine as well. I'm not suggesting it's very, we're very susceptible to thinking more is better. And that's how many, many people practice yoga for many, many years and never actually benefit from it. If we think more is better. So, I go further down, doing better yoga. No.
all the poses are purposed for is portals for absorption. If they're not utilized for that purpose, then their purpose is not realized. So balance the feet between inner and outer. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw passive, eyes passive. Micro moments. It's a door to the infinite. If you went lower, which you may or may not have done, come back up to fingertips, walk your feet a little closer, get to the highest point you can, whether that be on the blocks or the floor, right on the top of your fingers, once your feet are a little closer together. And then lead with the chest, press into the heels, come up calmly. Walk your feet towards each other and come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog pose. So meditatively meshing the molecules of the hands into the floor. Meditatively meshing the molecules of the hands into the floor. And really, that sort of immersion of the molecules of the palm and the molecules of the floor of the mat are the foundation, because if there's more in contact, there's more that can be used to spring back that energy. So when the molecules of the palms are meshed into the molecules of the mat, as you press, there's going to be a lot more energy that rebounds up through your arms, and you can direct that energy through the deltoids that cap the shoulders, through the medial axilla, the inner edge of the armpit, and the outer armpit as well, all the way back through the groins. The heels might stretch back, but as part of that, the back of the thighs will move in. And as part of that, the front of the thighs will move up, and it all takes time. And we cannot approach it realistically like turning on a light switch, but more like tuning in a radio dial. So the legs end up strong, not through sudden and determined personalized actions that are done by a person with good intention, but instead from the person disappearing into absorption, into play, into lila. Well done. Come down slow and calm to a kneeling position, when you can put a block between your heels and buttocks if you wish. One hand on top of the other. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft. So it's just a regular kneeling position, Vajrasana. Soft eyes, jaw soft, perhaps a little rolling on the shinlets. And movement is for meditation, isn't it? Movement is for meditation. So as you breathe, you move, and as you move, you breathe. I'm going to give you 3 options for what we're going to do next. 2 of them are really hard, and the third is really, really hard. So there you go. So option 1, voila. Option 2, like that. Option 3 is kind of moving between the 2. So you bring one forearm down, then the next. You come up on the one you went down on, and then you go down on the opposite one. So you're always coming up on the one you went down on, and then down on the opposite one. So that's your choice. They're all hard, but it gets you out of the house, doesn't it? So up to you. Always coming up on the one you went down on, and always going down on the opposite if you're going to try that method, which does build a tremendous amount of strength in the abdomen quite quickly. It's not easy, but I know you're a determined sort, so. And there'll be a point when you think, I've loved this, but I'd like it to finish. And that might be about now, I would say. So from there, we're going to then come down and stretch our legs out. Well done. It's good effort. Good at 10 out of 10 for effort. And draw the buttock flesh out and back. You can sit on blocks, of course, short end to short end. So it could be 2 blocks if you have 2 blocks, or just 1 block, or none. But sitting on a block is required if, after drawing the buttock flesh out and back, one can't feel any lightness or lift, or one very clearly feels that the lower back bulges out. We want to avoid that bulging out. It should be flat or drawn in, and the block can help with that. The hands are drawn back next to the hips, and the chest is stretched. The eyes are soft, as if looking into the distance. I always think of Brighton Station. If someone I really, really love, say, was coming back from somewhere, and they're on one of those really, really long trains that go on forever and ever and ever, and they're getting off at the furthest from the gate where I'm standing, I'll be looking off into the distance with a sort of loving anticipation. So that's the kind of look we want, like we're looking into the distance for our beloved. And our beloved, of course, is ultimately this moment, all of this, the goddess as she expresses herself through movement and interplay. So breathing, 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 investigating through movement, opportunities for lightness in the lumbar, combined with a marvelous and fantastic drop lifting. Boom. It's like, the great thing about drop lifting is it's simply the release of the weight of the top of the thighs that then spontaneously lifts the rest of the body. If you try and do it, if your personality is conscientious and you really try, that's not the right approach. Drop lifting is letting go of doing at the top of the thigh. And it's instant, like letting go of a stone over a river. You don't let go of it a little bit. If you want to drop it, you drop it. There's no, So boom. And as the stone drops into the water rises as the stone drops. Boom, boom. Broadening the feet is like a sort of smile that comes across them. Crown of the head up and shoulders back. Boom, the top of the thighs drop lifting. You want to keep coming back to that. It's very meditative. Okay, release from the pose and lay down on your back. It's good to have a patika nearby. We've got one, a yoga strap, yoga belt. And if your head tips back, put a block or blanket underneath your head. Or if you just feel a little dizzy or disorientated, a blanket is also, or block under the head is a good idea. So sometimes we feel a little, like our mind is sort of spinning a bit when our heads go down. So a block will help with that tremendously. Take a few breaths with your legs bent to allow the lower back to settle. And breathe through your nose without holding the breath. When ready, taking the patika around the foot that's furthest away from me, raising that leg up, bringing the patika to the front of the heel, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the neck, breathing through the nose if you can. Let the lower back settle itself. Extend the other leg with a really clear focus on the inner groin of that lower leg, extending, opening, creating space. So you might do that through movements of the heel.
Neck soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Then we're going to hold the patika with one hand only, the same hand as the leg we've got raised. The other hand is on the thigh of the other leg, encouraging a meditative, meaning centered around free breathing, drop lifting. So centered around free breathing, because any action that is driven by personal drives conditioned into us by our parents, drives conditioned into us by our schooling, drives conditioned into us by our society. Any action that's motivated by personal drives is karmic, and the whole point of yoga is for it to be not karmically productive. It should be akarma, non-karmically productive. Pull your leg towards you and out to its own side without rush or hurry. Breathing between the front hips without holding the breath as a form of meditation. The neck is soft, the jaw is soft, the eyes are soft. So it's a form of meditation. In other words, meditation means dissolution, where the individual object is dissolved into the perspective of the vastness that it's ultimately part of. The individual object, the particle, is dissolved into the vastness that it's ultimately part of. I've described this before with a metaphor of moving away from the earth to the surface of the moon, where the earth looks really relatively small and often has blown the minds of astronauts who see the earth as one planet instead of various small events. And then you go to Mars and it's a blue star about 45 degrees above the horizon. And then you go further back to Jupiter and you can see it maybe, but only if you really know where to look. And you go to where Carl Sagan turned the Voyager probe around, and it's one pixel, one blue pixel. And you go further and it's gone. That's perspective. That's what perspective does. It's not destroyed, but it's gone. In the perspective of the intimate now, the interdependent now, the individual me, myself, and I is nowhere to be found. Bring your leg back up in your own time. Bend the lower leg, release the upper leg, both feet on the floor. Let's hear a deep breath. Or two. Let's have some sighs, proper deep breaths, proper sighs. Yeah, really letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. Really letting go. Release the tight fist of grasping, and boundless infinity is revealed. That's the goddess, boundless infinity. Let's raise the other leg up similarly, bringing the padika to the front of the calcaneus, the heel bone. Front meaning a couple of millimeters at most of the belt are in direct contact with the calcaneus. Breathing, 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 neck soft, breathing, breathing, breathing. The arches, the lordosi of the back soft, that is to say the neck and the lower back. Extending the lower leg with a real clear view to stretching, opening in a meditative way. When you stretch and open, you're beginning to increase the perspective. That's why getting into the body is so useful, because our perspective can be really small, just focused on a thought. And then that's really problematic. If that thought becomes dominant, we become obsessed by the thought. It's my thought. If it's an ugly thought, we think that we're ugly. Oh God, I need help. I have ugly thoughts. Or if it's a beautiful thought, we think we're beautiful. Aren't I magnificent with my amazing thoughts that I have? But we need, obsession around a single thing like a thought or an emotion can only be countered by perspective. So feel into the body. feel into every moment of everything. Even thoughts, you can feel into thoughts. They're movements. The body is movements, movements within movements. The body and the mind and the breath are expressions of the entire universe, ultimately. Hold the patika with one hand only. The other hand goes on the other thigh to encourage the meditative release of the top of the thigh. The leg moves towards you and out to its own side without haste, without rush, breathing calm, breathing easy. Meditate on the release between the front hips, which is breath, body, mind. Breath, body, mind, and universe. Breath, body, mind. If you give, then you're found. If you give, then you're found. Bringing your leg back up in your own time without haste. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Bending, then the lower leg, releasing, and then the upper leg, both feet down on the floor, the patika to one side, the hands underneath the head, the breath, deep, spontaneous, expressive. The yogini or yogin moving spontaneously with the flows of the moment, she surrendered to the flows of the moment that flow through her and express in spontaneous expression in the body and the mind. So feel that spontaneous expression beyond thinking. That's where power really is. The spontaneous expression beyond thinking. Bring your feet close to your bum, and with your hands still under your head, lift your pelvis up off the floor and allow movement that allows you to tune out of gripping, grasping, grabbing of a particular and tune in to the field that each particular ultimately belongs to. So moving left, moving right, moving up, moving down. Circling, bouncing, tilting, shaking, swaying. And finally, floating back down, catching a deep breath, spontaneous, deep, natural. Letting your legs fall away from me with your feet away from each other. They just both legs fall, very spontaneous, very natural. Feel into the stretches, breathe into the stretches. Coming back up, scooting under, coming back down the other way. Breathing through your nose if you can. So just two choices, give or hold. There's nothing else that can be going on. Return to center if you're ready. Scoot the buttocks under, release the hands from behind your head, lift your legs, hug your legs. And again, spontaneity, a little rolling left, a little rolling right. Looking for sensations that are releasing, have the quality of releasing the breath. So you sort of return into the mother field, which is beyond, all divisions.
religious divisions, political divisions, social divisions, fiscal divisions, gender divisions, age divisions. It's beyond all divisions. Subject, object divisions. When you're ready, we're going to release the feet to the floor, and we're going to come pretty much straight into our shavasana, so palms facing up. But if you need something warmer, then roll onto your side, come up from the side and get it. If you're ready to go straight to shavasana, that's fine as well. And with the shoulder blades scooted under, the chest buoyant, the neck spacious, so some small head support can be used. And then extending the legs out so the whole body is resting. So total surrender is surrender back into the mother field. It's said that if you take 2 steps towards her, she'll take 10 towards you. In other words, she wants to draw you back into her. It's natural. Because you are her, you always have been. And in the same way that the earth disappears as you reach beyond the heliosphere, the range of influence, the end of the range of influence of the sun, and if you were to turn the Voyager probe back there, you wouldn't be able to see the earth. Huh? It hasn't been destroyed. Here we all still are on it. But the vastness of infinite space renders the earth to 0. The maths is simple. Any number, however vast, when placed next to infinity, is rendered to 0. When you let yourself experience the mother field, who is infinite, the Ananta, the Prakriti, the Matrika, then the finite self is gone. Not destroyed, but gone because of the perspective. When the self is gone, so are all the problems that attach to a self. Problems need a person to attach to. When no person can be found, the problems will move on in search of a person. If they can't find a person here, they'll move on. This is what's often known as emptiness.
And as it's said in Zen, you can pour anything into an empty cup. The moment can always be received. If you're empty, if there's empty. Wiggle the toes and the fingers from this emptiness. Let that be felt in emptiness. The movement of the toes, the movement of the fingers, and then little stretches. Again, within emptiness. Mm-hmm. And then the bending of the legs and the placing of the soles of the feet on the floor. Mm-hmm. Rolling onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room. Softness in the deep belly. Roll again when you feel ready. Let in light and color and sound and sensation into the emptiness. And when you feel ready to come up, bring yourself up nice and calm from your side. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. Rumors and Zoomers and any Pumas that might be there. I don't think there's any Pumas today. Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And love and peace, guys. Love y'all. See you soon. Bye.